So the full moon in Taurus is coming up here on Saturday, the 31st of October. This is a luscious moon. It's a tangible moon of physicality, being that the moon is exalted in Taurus. But there's also a lesson in this moon that appearances can be deceiving and that beauty actually goes deeper than just what's on the outside. So I want to get into the chart. This is really an analysis of this full moon, the energy that it's going to bring. Remember, the syzygies can hit and last for 2 weeks, especially non-eclipse syzygies. The last full moon before we get a lunar eclipse later in November. So this is the last really tangible, palpable full moon energy that I think is ideal to work with if you're doing something like a ritual or full moon, bathing in the moonlight, coming into that fullness and power of Luna, using that energy for your magical practices. At the end of November, that eclipse, I don't think we want to engage in that type of magic because it's just not advised according to several astrological traditions. But that's not now. Now is this luscious, exalted full moon in Taurus, and let's get into it. The moon is going to be ruled by Venus because Venus is the ruler by domicile of Taurus, and so by Egyptian term it's Mercury. And so those are the two rulers that I really like to dial in, kind of my primary rulers. Just know these are the primary rulers I'm looking at, and the thing about Mercury and Venus is they're both in Libra, and Venus rules Libra. So this is a full moon while the ruler is strong in its own domicile. So right away that's auspicious. It tells us that there's a lot of support for this moon because the place of the zodiac it's transiting through has a ruler that's, you can think about it as wealthy, and so you think if you're at someone's house, they've got a lot of resources. Now the other thing is the moon is exalted in Taurus in terms of the traditional system, so it's a special place in the zodiac also where you can think about it like a party for the moon. So not only is the ruler wealthy because there's dignity in the sky with Venus being placed in Libra, but this is a party for the moon here in Taurus, thrown by Venus, who's very powerful in Libra. So it's quite auspicious. But the thing about Libra, and I went into this in my weekly video, the last one I did, it's all about this kind of initiatory, assertive type of communication. It's how we negotiate, how we maybe assert, the dialogue in relationships. I think with Mercury being in Libra, co-present with Venus, it's really about that connection through those mercurial tactics of writing, messaging, asking someone out, saying you need to have a meeting to discuss matters, and then asking for new terms and reaching concordance about those terms. So check that video out if you haven't already. So the New York Times had an article on 6 October 2020 about intimacy and relationships, more about what the article expresses in terms of asking the partner for the needs to be met. This is exactly the kind of energy that I think can be engaged in and appreciated during this new moon. Remember, the moon is in a waxing phase, so it's growing in power, and we can sort of increase with the things that we're engaging in with that. That's what intimacy is. You let someone in to see you. So you're opening up, they come to see you, and then you can engage at these deeper levels. That can be increased during this moment. Whatever people that are in your life, whether it's friends, whether it's a romantic partner, or just, really to yourself. Maybe you want to do journaling, like who am I, what am I, explore who you are. But this kind of intimacy, I think, is really supported by the full moon here, this exalted full moon. The other thing is that with Mercury and Venus in Libra, there's a sense of technology because Libra's an air sign, and there's a real trend this year because of the situation in the world to do more digital intimacy. And sometimes with the Zoom calls or with a Skype or whatever, it might feel non-intimate by a certain regard, and of course that's natural because you can't touch. The tactility is so essential sometimes for connection. But there can still be some intimacy with Zoom where you can sort of control your space and be comfortable where you are, and then have that border or boundary where you let people in a more controlled way. So you might want to explore that. Who can you Zoom with during this full moon to connect with? Maybe old friends, or if your partner is in another place. I would encourage that. This Wall Street Journal article where a therapist discusses the intimacy of these Zoom interactions. There's real radiance and energy with the moon. When the moon's full, it's that large disk, that the full disk of the moon is reflecting the sun's light, so it's all lit up. If you go out and you see this beautifully lit moon, you can bathe in that moonlight, and it's a very powerful experience when done kind of deliberately. If you have a clear sky especially, it can double up or triple up that power. I'm from Austin, Texas, so I grew up in Austin and I spent many years there. We have a pool there called Barton Springs, and people swim. It's just a swimming hole, the spring, that's very, very, very popular. But every full moon, it's just customary. People just look up at the moon and they start howling as a group. And so there's almost this natural instinct when the moon is so powerful to want to talk to it and communicate with it. And even in an animalistic way, to really just get into that instinctual animalistic side. And I think with Taurus, that's where some of that instinct can come in. Mars, Venus, and the moon are the sect rulers of Taurus. Mars is strong now in Aries, Venus is strong in Libra, the moon is exalted in Taurus. So those three triplicity rulers all have a lot of dignity, and that's the instinctual side. The moon is the body, Mars is the inner instinct, Venus is that outer sort of thing that can call the instinct to action. This is the kind of thing where we're getting out into the moonlight and just opening up, maybe getting out where you feel comfortable, emoting out loud, But it's connection with this goddess. The moon is the beautiful goddess. It's so close to us. The moon influences us so profoundly and so deeply that this is that time to connect. Remember, so this moon is safe from the cardinal cross. It can't see Mars. It's making a trine to Saturn. So there's a sense of being a little bit protected from that real activated intensity of the cardinal cross right now. But the rulers of the moon are both in Libra in that cardinal cross. It's not really a complete escape. This is something where the background of this moment is the real intensity of 2020. So you might think about this Saturday as just being a temporary excursion where we'll have to then return and sort of face and deal with this really intense cardinal energy to finish out the next 2 weeks and really the rest of 2020. And it makes sense with everything going on in the world. There's a lot of unresolved things right now. How is the rest of the year going to turn out? Is there ever going to be an old normal again? How will the election turn out? So that is really the backdrop, this real cardinal cross intensity. This moon is a temporary kind of surface excursion. There's no way out of the milieu of this moon. There's no escaping that milieu. But I think here, Taurus is a fixed sign, and things that are fixed can provide real stability. You think about like a fence in an interval of distance, you put a stake in, and that provides the stability and support. And remember, Taurus is of the night sect, and then the moon is the home. So what's your home life like right now? Is there some way that you can use your home as a safety net and a protection during this weekend and maybe into this week as the cardinal cross intensifies? Carving out even a place if you have roommates, maybe your area, if you have your room, getting comfortable there, pockets of protection and safety and luxury that can really serve you to stabilize you during this week ahead with the election. And then the relationships, who can you rely on and lean into for support? And you might just ask someone, hey, do you have some time? Can I, if you're hurting, hey, can I run something by you? That's one of my favorite phrases. Can I run something by you? And most people will say, sure, I got 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and you can interact a little bit. But in my experience, there's certain friends that I just feel very safe with because of our energetic match and their acceptance of me, and there's a safety where I can take my problems. You probably have one or two friends like that too. That's kind of that, when it really hits the fan, that's the friend that you go to because they love you, they're not going to judge you, and they support you no matter what. Obviously, the global situation has created a real change in how families operate. There was a UCLA study that just came out that said there's a psychological fallout. So families, before have relied on like two working people, or at least the stability of a job and the stability of those regular interactions. You go visit your parents on the weekend, you have that football party or barbecues in the summer. All of that's been disrupted. I think this Taurus moon is pointing us to that with that cardinal cross being where the rulers are located, this fact that there's been this great upheaval in how families and relationships operate. And we're about 7.5 months into this event of 2020 where things are really changed. And I think that maybe now we've been in it enough to where you might know who you can lean into with Zoom calls or DMs, who those stable outlets are for you relationally. What your home life is like, even though if you had to move, or what the job situation's like if there was layoffs early on in the process. Maybe right now some of that there's some stable elements, I'm guessing, in this really upheaval phase that you can lean into. So lean into those. But I just point out this UCLA study because it's an acknowledgement, and everything isn't, fine. We're not in Kansas anymore. The other part of this moon that's very important and very, very interesting to me, which is I think the hidden flavor of what this moon is calling us to think about and consider. It's not Uranus conjunct the full moon partile. I'm not gonna, everyone else is talking about that. I'm probably not gonna, I'm gonna mention that briefly at the end. But the signification of Venus that is the adornment of the physical body, the beautification of the form that Venus is about, and so you have the strong Venus in Libra. Can you beautify to draw people in? And the moon in Taurus, how can that beautification then be like this luxuriation of pleasure and of enjoyment? My hair's been growing out, but I remember I got it cut. I was in Munich earlier this year and I hadn't cut it in a long time. I got this nice cut. Boy, it changed everything, man. A haircut really changed. They trimmed it, they made it even. I trimmed my beard. Dramatic effect on the self that can happen when we beautify the physical form, and how much better we can feel. That's why Venus is a benefic planet, and that care of the outer experience and the outer self, the outer parts of the self, really can impact the inner and how we enter the world and the self-esteem that we have. So it's a great gift to give yourself that bath, those special bath powders, that haircut or that special shampoo, or whatever it is for you. I'm thinking more about the physical adornment. Open up that jewelry. That's probably a good example. Find that jewelry. Find your nice watch. Wear your nice watch just for this Saturday. I think you'll really see. This is the thing with astrology. I could wear my nice things any day of the week, right, and still maybe get some of this effect that I'm describing here. But when the planets have aligned energetically to support that, it really can double, triple, or 10 times in terms of a magnitude of how, these energies can be felt or experienced. And so this Saturday, as this moon is approaching fullness, I think is a really great time to just wear your nice stuff. So The Guardian had this article this week about a TikTok star and all the TikTok people that are doing skincare TikToks. They were saying that the popularity of the TikTok performer actually doesn't depend on how good looking the performer is. That there's all these other features, including sense of humor, including savvy with the media, that has been more important than maybe the looks or the outer appearance of the so-called influencer. And there's two parts of this. Mercury and Venus co-present in Libra, technology, beauty, communication through technology, using technology. That's a part of how I think this energy can be utilized too. Maybe that Instagram post where you're really beautiful, you've got those pictures. Go ahead and post them. Go ahead and get your beauty out there. It might be a time for that with this Venus very strong ruling the full moon. But the other side of it are these two fixed star conjunctions, and to me this is really where it gets interesting. I'm a fixed star astrologer. I love looking at fixed star conjunctions. They really provide a rich mythology through which we can filter the energy. But there's two fixed stars that are very closely conjoined this new moon. The first is, and I'm just gonna say it, Adhil. This is a fixed star in the Andromeda constellation. Adhil is about 29 degree minutes from the full moon, so that's quite close, about half a degree. And then the second fixed star is Shadir. The fixed star Shadir is the second fixed star. That is on the left breast of the Cassiopeia constellation. The thing about Andromeda and Cassiopeia, they are intimately tied in a story. One of the myths that is relating so much to beauty and the physical side of beauty, the skin level of beauty. And that is the story of Perseus, Andromeda, and Cassiopeia. So Cassiopeia is Andromeda's mother, and she was basically bragging about how beautiful Andromeda was, and she claimed that Andromeda was more beautiful than certain, I think it was some sea nymphs, and there was a punishment. You can read all about this, but there was some energy sent to destroy the kingdom, and the king had to offer up Andromeda for sacrifice to prevent the kingdom from being destroyed. And so Andromeda gets tied to rocks, being prepared for execution when Perseus saves her. But the lesson here is this braggadociousness, this kind of prideful feature of beauty. That's really what I want to contemplate as we have this exalted moon ruled by Venus with Venus in domicile, is how far does beauty go? What's true beauty? I think beauty is a wonderful thing. I love beauty. I love to appreciate someone's beauty, but it is actually deeper than the skin. I was in a restaurant earlier today here in Budapest, and there was this 80-year-old woman, I'd say 80, and she was walking around so happy, talking to everybody. She was the most beautiful woman there. I really wanted just to go up and hug her and just interface with her, this laughing, kind of a light energy. I don't speak Hungarian. I don't know if she spoke English, and I didn't talk to her, but I wanted to. Her beauty was infectious, but it radiated from somewhere deeper than the skin. There was this inner light that I think is where true beauty can be found. We can judge others often. Oh, this person just because they look a certain way, this means something about them, when we've never even met that person. You know, and so that is something that I think is the real sort of lesson here, like not comparing myself to others, not judging myself based on what I perceive as other people's physical form. And that's the thing here, is that if I focus only on like how nice my watch is, or, you know, my shoes, that's a great trap, because it always decays. Everything will decay and go away. And so if I'm fixated on those externalities to give me this value, I'm doomed. I'm doomed to a life of misery. And so I think that when we wear those luscious items that like I was suggesting earlier, I like to do it with this kind of acknowledgement of the interconnectivity of all things, that this is just one sort of beautiful flowering of this precious moment, that you know, other people went into making these items. They got the steel, they pieced together the mechanism or the mechanics. The skincare products, those are made by people. So there's this interconnected web of life. And when beauty is expressed, it's really everyone's beauty. You know, it's like the beauty of humanity that we all share. So this kind of interconnected web, there's certain contemplations that I think can really tie that appreciation of beauty into something that's spiritually significant, to prevent us from being trapped like Andromeda because of our pridefulness or our braggadocious nature. You know, and this is where I want to talk about the Uranus. I'm finally going to talk about the Uranus partile, the full moon. You guys are probably like, why there's Stanley Kubrick in The Shining. It's a great scene where Jack Nicholson's character walks into room 237 and he sees this beautiful naked woman. She gets out of the bathtub and walks to him, and then they embrace, and then that woman turns to an old hag, this kind of demonic hag. And it's this really powerful scene where what seems known can in an instant change and the truth can emerge. And that's what can happen when we focus on beauty. You wake up one day and the beauty's gone. It's the morning after, and that hole inside is still there festering. That's what I think how the Uranus can be in play here. These flashes of perception change around what we perceive as beauty and what value we assign to people based on their external, you know, appearances. That's the message. That's what I want to bring to you today. The flesh is not lasting, and where is true beauty? And I don't think it's with the appearance. I think the appearance is this reflection of something inside. All right, good, interesting, heavy, right? Heavy duty stuff. The astrology is always heavy. It always brings these really heavy ideas. At least it can, if you want to go there. I want to go there. I want to kind of find out what's the meaning of life, who am I, what's valuable. These are the things I'm interested in as an astrologer. So let's do a tarot reading. Let's get some more symbols and some more ideas. All right, so this is love reading tarot. You know, the thing about the tarot, 78 cards, and the decans are represented of the zodiac, the signs of the zodiac are represented, the planets all are represented in terms of these correspondence schemes. So you really can use that tarot. I know some in the comments in my last video were talking about that tarot integration with astrology. It's one of my favorite ways to use the cards, and that's actually how I came to astrology. I was studying tarot and realized, hey, there's these correspondences. I need to learn these correspondences better, be a better tarot reader, and then I'm more known for being an astrologer these days. It's fine. I love them both. I love them both. So let's see. If we set an intention for the reading, you know, beauty, what is true beauty? I was asking that question earlier. Let's see if the cards can help us answer that. What is true beauty? The first card. Queen of Diamonds, Taurus. It always works that way. Always works that way. Yeah, the queen, you know, and I'm going to go back to the appreciation and celebration of your beauty, of my beauty. Like, let's be queens. You know, the queen is that royal figure of that domain. You know, it's the queen and her castle. Probably the best queen-like energy until after eclipse season. You know, Aquarius is going to come to dominate because Saturn and Jupiter will be there. This is actually the last syzygy where the moon is in Taurus. Where you won't have Saturn making that overcoming square. So it's really, really important, I think, this queen energy. This is kind of our last moment to go with this queen energy in a really profound way. So if we're talking about right now, let's just say the first position is now, the second position is the future. This is the now moment. Be your queen, embody your queen, just enjoy it. Okay, let's get the second card. You know, and queens, I love the idea of a queen. I love a strong woman. I love being around strong women and women that are independent. That can be the queen energy at its best, that are just doing their own thing. That's what I find beautiful, actually, is people that are free in mind, free in spirit, and that aren't really conforming, you know. But maybe that's just me. But I think the queen sort of is symbolic of that, because you're stable in your regime. You are the final arbiter. All right, last card. last card. Last card. Oh, this is so amazing. Lamat, the Fool. The Fool. I like and dig the Fool. Especially I like the Fool when it's in the second position, because sometimes if it's in the first position, it might describe, well, I'm being foolish, or there's kind of a trap there. But when the Fool is in that second position, it's like there's open road. And remember, the Fool is the great wanderer. The Fool energy, it's really the energy of like the etheric power of reality. I mean, this is associated with air and some correspondence systems, the air element, which of course is mercurial. But this is that air, that great, I think it's the ethereal, this kind of fifth element air, which is the substrate of the reality, the spiritual substrate of reality. Holy Spirit is maybe what the Christians would say, or actually, you know what I think about this David Bohm here, the physicist who had this idea of the implicate order and the sort of great interconnectivity of everything, including the planets. They're connected to us. And he's a scientist. He's saying that there's scientific fact and truth to the notion that we are connected to the planets even. This is where I think the idea that the stars are inside of us and those movements actually impact us, because there's some kind of physical connection. This guy's a physicist. So to me, this is extremely auspicious to see the Fool here. It means that we're on the precipice, of a new energy, of a new time in the world. And we're ending 2020. Eclipse season next. Those are the portals. I'll use that. It's controversial on Twitter. You say portal, these astrologers freak out. What's a portal? Look, portal is a metaphor that I like to use for eclipses and others, because the eclipses are kind of where fate emerges. The sun is blocked out, it becomes black, and things can come through. The hand of God can enter into the reality and change things and reorient things and get you back on track on where you should be. So I like the word portal for eclipses, but I think this Fool energy is portal-like. It's this substrate of reality where we can sort of form this in the ways that we choose. And choice is another key word here. What do you want to choose for the rest of the year? This new moon, as you become your queen, luxuriate in your dominance and your power, use what you can plant this weekend, the energy of this weekend, use it. All right, as always, you can book a reading with me, sjanderson144.com. Just click on the top there, click here to schedule a reading. Tarot readings, astrology readings. I look forward to reading for you. Enjoy this energy. Like I said, I know I've said that a few times, but I really want to underscore it. It's lovely, luscious Venusian energy. There's nothing like it.